Good. There we go.
Oh,
I'm
shit,
smart.
we're live.
Cool. Well, I am really excited today to be interviewing and having a just inspired chat with my dear friend. We're going to be talking along the lines of, I guess, what we've decided is sustainable change, and how to bring that into your life and what that means, and just unpacking all of that. So first of all, I'm just going to ask you just a really simple question, my dear. Who are you?
Oh, I thought you'd never ask. Thank you for having me. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the space that you hold for men and women for creating change, and you inspire me regularly. So thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me to have this conversation. Who am I? That's a great question, and I've spent my entire adult life trying to work that out. But in a nutshell and quickly, my name is Ryan. I'm known as Ruckus. I'm a musician. I'm a life and wellness coach for men and a sustainable change creator, which is so buzzword heavy, it makes me feel sick. But that's in a nutshell. That's who I am.
Love that. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess let's dive straight into that, the sustainable change. So like how do we make feeling really good last? Because we all know what it's like to feel really good sometimes, hopefully. But how do we make it last? What does sustainable change actually mean?
That's a great question. And I think, especially given the situation that the world is in at the moment, particularly Australia, creating sustainable change is vital. And I think realistically what it comes down to is practicing radical honesty in terms of what you're actually feeling, where you're at really, and how you're reaching out for the support for what you need. In my experience in my life, I've spent 15 years in personal development and trying to be the best person I can be, and I got swept up in this unsustainable hype of energy of that toxic positivity that like my house is burning down, but I'm like, it's okay. There's a silver lining here somewhere. I've just got to work it out. I'm just going to meditate on this. This is fine. Whereas practicing radical honesty is like, holy shit, my house is on fire. This fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Who do I need to support me through this? What do I actually need? And what does this mean for me? What's here? What's real? What's present? So I think sustainable change and how to feel good for longer is more about tapping into what is actually here inside and the acknowledgement of the feelings that you are feeling, and understanding there is healthy ways to process things like anger, sadness, shame, guilt, fear. And you can feel good while still experiencing fear. You can feel good while still experiencing shame. You can feel good while experiencing guilt. These things aren't, they're not exclusive to having gratitude and, toxic positivity, I guess.
Yeah, that toxic positivity is a real thing. And I think there's that quote that's just like, don't allow your spirituality to become kind of like a badge for just, I can't remember exactly how it goes, but
I thought I was the only one that did that. Yeah, there's this quote that goes something like this that doesn't actually, I don't remember what it is, but anyway.
Yeah, when I just pull out quotes, just like, bam. Yeah, I can't do that anymore. But what I was going to say is, yeah, it's we can get so stuck in that like toxic positivity of just like, okay, how do I flip this? How do I pivot this? How do I, make this be all okay? And in that, by suppressing that and not being present with that, whatever the emotion is actually becomes, this is a lot of what I work with, it becomes systemic inflammation in the body, which makes us sick. So my coaches say to me all the time, like they see me kind of hitting a challenge and then being like, okay, like rolling through it. And they're just like, hold on. Like, remember you get sick when you just like
pump the brakes
through it. But yeah, like how do we really become present in pain? Like when we've got so much to do and so much that's happening, or so many responsibilities, or kids, or partners, like what kind of things, like, what kind of recommendations would you give or examples?
It's a great question. It's a really great question, and it's important to remember that life is going to continue regardless of what you're experiencing. Things and stuff just keep going on, and unless we put our hand up and say, "Hey, I'm having a hard time with this specific thing, and this is a specific support I need," or "I don't even know what support I need, but this is what's present for me. I need some help here." No one's really going to stop to lend you a hand, unfortunately. So the way that we, in my experience in working with men in mental health and wellness, is it's not about making things complicated. We don't have to do these big extreme acts to tap into what's present and to be able to create and sustain change. It's about the small incremental changes that are easy and the low-hanging fruit, so to say. You got to cut the balls. So a really great way to start is, firstly and foremost, is keeping a bit of a journal, a bit of a diary, a bit of an outlet for you to get whatever's here out onto some paper. Because, like you said, when you spiritual bypassing, or yeah, I've got one here. Hang on.
Yeah.
Are we having a competition here? Because
I was literally just looking at it in the background. I'm like this one.
Yeah, 100%. And it's these things that I was never taught how to do this as a kid, and unfortunately my upbringing is a little bit different to most people I know. Going to 16 schools across 3 states growing up, I didn't have a lot of consistency, and these lessons that I've learned later in life weren't instilled in me as a young man. And so having simple processes, and I don't call them routines anymore, I call them rituals. I make them sacred and make them special because I look forward to this. That is the difference between me sitting and wallowing in my shit and me being able to process my shit. And something that you mentioned earlier is if we don't stop and slow down to process what is present, it will manifest in other ways, in other areas of our lives. Like sickness is a huge one. And breakdowns and relationships and connections is another thing. Unless we're processing and giving ourselves the opportunity to gain objective clarity. All big words. At the end of the day, all it is coming back and having rituals in place to keep you grounded, to keep you present, to keep you here.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, making it those rituals where it is, it's not weird, it's not silly, it's sacred, it's for you. I think we're so conditioned to think that everything else must come first. And we also get into that flow of life of just, just get everything done, get everyone else served. And if I'm feeling crap at the end of the day, then cool, I'll just have a drink, or I'll smoke, or I'll take some drugs, or eat crap food.
Send 100 dick pics. Yeah. It's just one of those things.
Yeah. And we're very much conditioned to that, and that's totally okay. But I guess, why I think the hardest thing I know for me and a lot of my clients, for example, is we don't know what's on the other side of that. We don't know what's actually possible potentially for that. Because we've been stuck in this cycle for so long that this is the comfort zone, this is the familiar. And you saying I can be really happy and healthy and at peace or abundant, or that's no. So how do you, I guess, and maybe let's make it personal, what is it in the past that's kind of stopped you from moving through these kind of activities, and how have you kind of held that belief that there is something good on the other side?
So important. We fear the unknown, and the unknown is something that I've employed in my life is I don't know what I don't know, and I'm okay with that. I've had to make peace with that. And there's such limits around the unknown because whatever that is, whatever story we're telling ourselves. For me, growing up, not having a healthy masculine role model, not having a strong support network, is purely my responsibility. I didn't know how to communicate what I was experiencing, and I developed some really unhealthy coping mechanisms in forms of alcohol, sex, dick pics, you name it. Anything to move me out of that radical honesty about who I am, what I'm experiencing. And I'm a recovering nice guy. So like you said before, is as long as everyone else in my life, their needs were met and they're okay, I could come second. I come second. And I think breaking that cycle was extremely difficult because of the story I was telling myself about myself and how I fit into my social setting. And there's actually a lot of research that are coming out now supporting, extroverts have a higher perceived attractiveness and a higher social status, whether that's an inherent trait, whether it's an organic thing or it's something that we've conditioned to fit in. Extroversion and perceived attractiveness, the byproduct of that is neuroticism isn't considered attractive amongst men. And what I mean by that is our ability to speak to fears, guilt, to feelings of discomfort aren't considered attractive amongst men, which is incredibly interesting. And it comes down to our conditioning, the way we were grown up, the way we were brought up. Our parents didn't think that it was a good idea for men specifically to show emotion. So that way that relates to me and my journey is I didn't have any healthy ways of processing what was here, of stepping out of my head into my heart and then having the emotional vocabulary to communicate that. And when I say emotional vocabulary, for those of you playing at home, that is my ability to express what I'm feeling as I'm feeling it, and discerning between when I'm speaking from a heightened emotion or when I'm speaking to the emotion. And the difference is small, but the outcome is monumental. So when you're speaking to the emotion, you're acknowledging its existence. Like, I'm actually feeling really angry right now. I'm feeling a lot of shame, a lot of guilt. Or you're like, fuck this, fuck you, fuck the traffic, fuck the world. And it just becomes a projection.
Yeah. And
so I guess, yeah, sorry.
I was going to say, that's exactly right. And it's acknowledging and embracing the darkness as well as the light. Like, we know that things can be good or could be better, but knowing that you've got to actually embrace the darkness and lean into that darkness and lean into that discomfort and actually give it a big hug is like so foreign. It's just like, no, I know I do not need to give fear or anger or shame any of my attention. No, that's not part of who I am. I'm a nice person. I'm not like that. I don't have that darkness, but we all have that darkness. And that is what makes us human. That's the experience that our souls chose to come here for. But yeah, again, that conditioning, whether it's from childhood, family, teachers, media, whatever it is, brought us to the space where we're like, okay, bad emotions are bad. So don't acknowledge them, don't feel them. If you feel them, there's something wrong with you. And then we wonder why we've got like the most highest depression levels ever in history.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah. This thing I've probably said it in a long time, and I actually this came to me working with one of my male clients and speaking directly to the darkness and the discomfort and the anger, the shadow. Quote, anything that seeks the light will cast a shadow. So regardless of where you are in your journey, if you are seeking to better yourself, seeking the light, seeking the positive, you're going to cast a shadow. And that shadow is where the work is to be done. For me as an adult, after a failed marriage, many failed relationships, not taking responsibility from my role in these breakdowns in connections, I realized there was a gap in who I am as a man between the man I said I was, the man I was trying to be, and the man I actually was showing up as. And it was this 3-stage gap. Now for me, the gap will never be closed, but I work tirelessly to make it as small as I can. And a large part of that work, doing the work, is not suppressing expressing these uncomfortable feelings and having conversations that challenge me and trigger me, you know. And I think to even do that, to even start doing that, there needs to be safety.
Yeah.
You know, and for me, that's key in any change, any sustainability is safety.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I guess what would you say to someone who's not feeling like they're surrounded by any safety right now, or they feel like their life experience has been constant unsafety, where anytime you feel or they do express or they do explode, that met with a barrier? Like how do you speak to that?
Yeah, it's a good question. And like we talk about these concepts of safety and emotional vocabulary. We talk about this in terms that make it seem like these things are simple to achieve and that they happen instantly. And we live in the microwave generation, unfortunately, where we're like, okay, I want this thing. Oh, now I have this thing. There was no wait time. With safety and trust and these things we're speaking to right now take time. And if you are in an environment where you don't feel safe and your life experience and what's happening and the people around you at the moment aren't conducive to safety, it's a time, it's a process, and it's really a level of self-inquiry. You know, how much of this can you own? What role are you playing in this unsafe environment? And then thinking about what is safety to you? What does safety feel like? What does it actually look like? What's it sound like? What's it smell like? Getting really specific about that. Because if you don't know what you don't know. And if you're not sure what safety is, you're not going to know when it's there and present. 9 times out of 10, when working with blokes around safety, when we start to get a little bit deeper about what actually safety looks like to you specifically, safety does exist within the people that are around you. It's just about having a conversation about that and being able to speak your needs. This is present for me. Can I share this with you? Or are you open to listening to what's here right now? These are invitations to safety. You know, you're not actually saying, hey, I don't really feel safe with this right now. Can you get a security guard vest and do whatever.
Yes, I don't have to deal with it.
Yeah, fully. But it's time. It's time and practice.
Yeah. So real.
I think Gandhi said it best. Be the change that you want to see. So for me, I spent years playing the victim, but not knowing I was playing the victim, like, there's no men's groups. There's nothing available here. I'm not doing this. I can't be this person because that doesn't exist. I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm not feeling safe. You're not supporting me. You're not loving me. Really, I was not doing those things. And I was like, oh shit, hang on, wait, what? And it took a mentor of mine to call me out, like, Ruckus, how are you being safe? How are you being supportive right now? How are you showing up right now? And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing that. And I was so triggered. And I was like, nah. And when I sat down, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
All right. And it was the moving from an understanding that my outer reality was a direct reflection of my inner landscape. You know, I was calling everything out because in here I didn't feel safe. In here I didn't feel heard. I had no connection to my little inner ruckus, my little inner child that was just wanted to be nurtured and heard and loved. I had no connection to him whatsoever. Therefore, what I saw on the outside, my external reality reflected that back at me, just so I could say, see, I told you that wasn't there. I told you that wasn't there. Yeah. And it took years to get a grip on that.
Yeah. And we will look for the cracks. The mind is literally programmed to look for all the reasons why it won't work out, why we can't have it, why it can't be possible for us. And that's part of the work that we keep doing. And we both do that because we're just like, oh, it's been so stigmatized now because it's, again, got that slap of the spirituality label on it. But it's the work is figuring out who you are and unlayering all of those layers. And part of that is, like you said, getting really clear on what safety is, on what, happiness is, on what success is for you. Like, what does it mean for you? As soon as you start getting really clear and you start asking that of the universe, God, whatever it is that you connect to, that drives you, even if it's yourself, like, as soon as you put that out there, that's when the mentors are going to come in and call you out and trigger you, or, you know, something's going to get in your way, or 10 things are going to get in your way. And yeah, it's about navigating that and like swallowing nasty tasting medicine sometimes that, oh, like I want this amazing relationship or life or bank account, but like I'm not matching that. Like I'm not being like one of my favorite mentors, Preston Smiles, he talks about like you have to embody what you want to attract. That's the law of attraction. That's a universal law that we are living with that works. But if I want a loyal partner, or if I want, you know, respectful friendships, how am I showing up in those arenas? Like, you know, girls, if you want a partner who's not talking to 10 other girls on Tinder, maybe you talk to 10 other boys on Tinder. Like,
wait a minute, hang on.
Very relevant.
Mic drop. Yeah, 100%.
But again, it's that we're all stuck in, like you said, that instant gratification where we're used to wanting something and then being able to get it. But those big things like happiness and health and safety and, you know, joy, those are long haul things. Like they're
huge.
They're the things we've got to work for.
And do the work for. It's very interesting. And just listening to that, what comes to mind for me in regards to sustainability and creating change is the difference between what is a commitment and what is a goal, especially pertaining to men's work, I guess. When, as a man, if I say I'm committed to a process, the only thing that's stopping me from achieving that is death. If I set the goal to work on a process, then the chances are that I am going to fail and I am going to have to go back and regroup and I am going to have to realign to it. And even though it's a small change in language, the meaning is on the other end of things is massive. When you commit to a daily ritual, it means it doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter what state you wake up in. It doesn't matter that you've had 25 minutes sleep and you know, 3 bags of rack deep and whatever. You get up, you commit to the process, you do the fucking work. If you set a goal to do that, then you're like, you've already set yourself, you entered the room with the back door open. You're like, I set it as a goal that I could just get back. I'm just there's a few more lines back here. So it's a thing, especially when it comes to and I know this from working with men, is as soon as you challenge a man on his commitment, he's like, oh, fucking what? What? I'm a man. What do you mean? And you realign to what a commitment is. And it's, I get it. Okay. All right. And then we instead of setting goals, we agree to commitments. And that's the work I do with any work, with the voluntary work and the community work that I do, or with any of my clients in group work or one-on-ones, is I don't ask what your goal is. I ask what your commitments are. I'm not interested in, you know, goals are goals. Like, everyone has goals, but I want to know what you're committed to. I want to know where that strength is. And in order to create change, especially for men, you know, I don't want to create an environment where change is unsustainable when we're set them up with tools and techniques and strategies that long after our relationship's finished and they're often in their own communities doing the thing, that they can sustain their own change and self-regulate, you know, and teach that to the men in their life.
Love that. So I guess before we round out, I'd love to know a couple of things, like from you along your journey, to get like real and raw about it, what were a couple of things that would always stop you from creating change? Like your nemesis is like, what would, you know, you're maybe starting to create those commitments and you're starting to do the work. What gets in your way?
Yeah. Great question. Really great question. And this is a challenge for me in this moment to speak to this, because it's a vulnerability. You know, and one of the things that got in my way is this specific thing, is the story that I'm telling myself about myself and who I am. You know, I get caught up in this image of oh, Ruckus, the men's coach, the mentor, this guy doing all this good work. In my life, I've done some very questionable things with my actions, my behaviors. I've manipulated partners. I've lied to partners. I've lied to myself. I've lied to friends. You know, being a recovered alcoholic, I've done some horrible things and burned a lot of bridges, and you know, I've had to forgive myself for that. One of the things that keeps coming up for me, even to this day, is I've got to come back, pump the brakes, come back here, and be humbled. And what I've learned in my experience is, if I get swept up in this image that I'm this healer and this mentor and this guy doing all this good work, I will be humbled. I will be called back into integrity. I will be called back into my authenticity. So that's been a continuous struggle for me, and coming back into that space, you know, on one hand, forgiving myself for the things I've done and loving myself regardless of the things I've done, and seeking forgiveness for those things from the people that I've directly hurt. And also not buying into that, oh, fuck it, I've done the work, I'm all right, I don't need to do this.
I'm done.
You know, I don't. Yeah, I've clocked it. I've clocked the work. I'm out.
Of the journey. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
evolved. I'm ascended.
Yeah. Yeah. Why not a butterfly yet? What is this? Come on. Yeah.
I want to sharing that, because I know that it's hard, and because it's hard for me, and it's hard for us when we've done so much work to be like, I'm still going to have work to do. There's still going to be that shadow that comes back. There's still going to be those triggers. And I wanted us, I guess, to put that out there, because it's like, I recently just watched one of my mentors do a speech about her journey. And, you know, she said that the biggest thing is that she doesn't want to be put on a pedestal, because
huge.
We're all on the same journey, and we're all
100%.
completely different experiences, but just with a lot of the same things. Like, so, you know, I think even Tony Robbins says, I am not your guru. Like, don't put someone who's maybe your mentor on a huge pedestal, because the mentors out there are usually the ones who've been through the craziest stuff.
100%. 100%.
Don't feel like, oh my God, they're so amazing. Like,
oh, how's this guy? He's done all this stuff. And you're like, whoa. And that's, for me, that was the difference between being a coach, a good coach, and a good mentor. You know, I can confidently say that I can probably coach anyone on anything, you know, to a degree. But mentoring someone, applying and, you know, embodying the concepts that we're talking about right here, right now, is completely different. Talking the talk and walking the walk are two different things. And pedestaling is so it's damaging, you know. And we look at someone, we're like, oh, I couldn't do that. Look at that guy. Look at that beard. I mean, are you kidding me? Yeah. You know, we fall into that comparison trap. It's not about that. We're all equal. And something that you said just then was that triggers are going to be there. They're going to be there regardless. And when we are doing the work and we're leveling up and we're getting more self-aware, our triggers come in really, really cheeky little disguises, you know. And I don't believe in, like, it's a test, or, you know, we're being tested on our resolve. It's just different ways that we're being invited. And that's what they are, invitations to kind of grow that self-awareness. So it's important.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. I would love you to give us a rundown on what you're up to, what you provide. I know you're in the middle of your amazing program. So please tell us more about that and plans for the future, anything up and coming.
Beauty. Thank you. So I have created an online program for men called The Journey Home. It's six sessions over 6 weeks, designed to move us from our head back into our heart space. Just tools and techniques and strategies that I've been shown and I've created over the last 30 odd years of doing the wrong thing. So it's just real simple tools and strategies for making this work accessible to the men that need it. So we're midway through the very first journey, and there's been some huge transformation already, and it blows me away. So I take 10 men through a 6-week journey every 6 weeks. Outside of that, I have a online community called WokeBlokes, all one word. It's a closed group specifically for men. We have virtual circles every Thursday. I've just had a month off circles actually while I've been moving and studying and doing my thing. But the circles are really about creating a platform for men to express what's present for them. I facilitate them. They're not lessons, they're not structured. They're just, we come in, we commit to some agreements together to create the safety, and then we just share whatever's present. And if you want to go through a process or you need some support with anything, the brothers are there. So it varies from, 10 blokes at 15 to 20. Doing it virtually knocks down all the barriers between locations. So we've got men from all around Australia joining in. So yeah, it's beautiful work. So that'll continue. I think moving forward, I'm studying to be a somatic psychotherapist. So I'm going to really incorporate a lot more movement, body movement, in regards to trauma work and men's mental health work. So just really growing community around this kind of work is where I'm at.
Love that. I'm so excited, and I've been hearing some wonderful things through the grapevine. So, and it's just all about turning, and I think this is the thing, coming back to that pedestal thing for one final time, is that, whether it's you or me or anyone who comes along to do the work, it's about turning all that pain, all that stuff from the past into a purpose, into a purpose for a better life for yourself, for anyone else, which ends up being a better life for everyone else around you. So yeah, understanding that it's okay 100%. To put yourself first is huge. Yeah. So we both honor anyone who does decide to move down that road.
Shit, yeah.
But yeah, so anyone who is watching this, wherever you are watching this, I will put all the links so that you can find Ruckus on all his different journeys in the description, which will be like up or down or whatever. Thank you so much for spending this time with me this morning. And I'm going to
My pleasure.
the recording.